Hello, special thanks to the Center for the Arts for producing this series. This evening, we are proud to present our groundbreaking music therapy program led by Hilary Camino. Hilary received her creative-based music therapy master's degree from Queen Margaret University in Scotland. Hilary also has a degree in music with vocal emphasis from the University of Wyoming and is a Wyoming native. And if you've ever heard her play in Freda Felcher as a writer, you know that you're in for a treat tonight. Hilary has worked with a wide range of populations, from children living with autism to people living with dementia, as a music therapist for the last 7 years. Leading the only music therapy program of its kind in Wyoming, Hilary founded the Living Center's music therapy program in 2016. Whether you find yourself at home with a loved one, or you yourself are contemplating a move into a community like ours, we just hope that you're inspired by this presentation, but more importantly, want you to know that we are along on the journey with you. A journey like this takes a lot of support. In fact, it takes quite a village to care for people as they age. And so, as we support people on this journey through embracing aging, the power of music, thanks for joining us. The song you're about to hear was written by residents, articulating their meaning of life.
Many changes in life now, still learning every day to grow, accepting life as it occurs, enjoy what we have and people we love, and share with each other. Our life on earth will soon be ending, with the will of God depending. A life of memories to contemplate, nature's wonder we appreciate. We've had a long, hard road to hoe. The longer the road, the more brilliant the rainbow. The longer the road, the more brilliant the rainbow. Rainbows are pretty too.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. As Beth mentioned, that was a song written by our residents at the Living Center during a music therapy songwriting group, where our residents shared memories from different phases in their lives and how they found meaning in each of those phases. And then we sang that song through many times to process those memories and share feelings. And then we recorded it for families. And you may have noticed that the recording isn't perfect, but perfection is not what we strive for at the Living Center. Perfection is not our goal. We really want to focus on the process. And in this case, the process was in writing that song, in sharing those memories, and the critical thinking and the problem solving and the challenging teamwork that it takes to write a song as a group. That is what we focus on. And we take the focus off of mastery and perfection and place it on spontaneity and the process of creativity. Tonight, I'm going to share with you and talk about what music therapy is and what it's not, how music impacts the brain, and how I use music therapy in a group setting and also in the individual setting at the Living Center. Music therapists work with a multitude of populations, but tonight I'm going to focus on music therapy in long-term care, and specifically how music impacts the aging brain. So in a very broad definition, music therapy is the use of music to accomplish non-musical goals, opposed to a music teacher who uses music to accomplish musical goals, like teaching a student how to play an instrument or how to read music, or a performer who uses music to entertain or promote their original music. A music therapist, on the other hand, uses music to alleviate pain or decrease anxiety. Both of those are non-musical goals that a music therapist works to accomplish. Now, this could seem confusing as you watch a music therapist. On the onset, it could seem that the music therapist is providing entertainment or hosting a sing-along, but with a closer look, you'll see that the music therapist is assessing treatment planning and evaluating their clients, similar to what an occupational therapist might do. However, the treatment looks quite different. Music therapy can only be practiced by a certified music therapist with a degree in music therapy who has obtained knowledge and education through evidence-based approaches and is upheld to clinical standards. Now, our residents don't often grasp all of these convoluted concepts, so rather than overcomplicate my role and my time with them, I really just let the work speak for itself, and our residents will often forget that it is in fact therapy, which can lead to its appeal because it is so stimulating and motivating to create music, which is part of why music therapy can be so effective. So I want to spend some time here tonight talking with you about how music impacts the brain, and specifically how music is useful for people with neurocognitive challenges. So music has a profound impact on the brain because it functions throughout the mind, unlike anything else. So I'm going to give you some examples here. We play instruments with our hands and our feet, which is stimulating the motor cortex, the cerebellum, and the sensory cortex. We watch what we're doing and read music with our visual cortex. And we perceive those notes that we're playing and hearing with our auditory cortex. And we use critical thinking and problem solving when we're learning to play an instrument or writing a song, and that's engaging that prefrontal cortex. And we use both sides of our body to play instruments. And both sides of our brain are stimulated when we're listening to music. So this is engaging the corpus callosum, connecting both hemispheres of the brain. And when we hear or sing a song from our childhood, it brings back memories and emotions of our life during that time. Somewhere over the rainbow way up high. And this is engaging the hippocampus, the nucleus accumbens, and the amygdala. No other stimuli has this kind of global impact on the brain. So it's no wonder that studies show that learning an instrument at any stage of your life can actually increase the brain's plasticity. And learning an instrument later in your life, when neural connections can begin to deteriorate, those new connections formed from learning a new instrument can increase the brain's plasticity and can actually slow down the progression of memory loss. And when one area of the brain becomes compromised or is damaged, music is still accessible in all of those other areas of the brain that I spoke with you about. And you're building new neural pathways through those functional areas of the brain. So those of you at home who are feeling worried or anxious about that progression of memory loss, there's an opportunity here to slow down the progression by learning something completely new to you. So we have neural pathways paved in our brain with the things that we already know how to do. And when we relearn those things and work on them, we're just paving away at those neural pathways. But when we learn something completely new to us, we're building new neural pathways. Hence, the brain's plasticity is increasing. And if you think about all of those areas of the brain that I just spoke about that are engaged in music, when you learn a new instrument, all of those areas of the brain are building new neural pathways, and that can slow down memory loss. Not only does music have a significant impact on the brain, but the nature of music crosses all generations, abilities, and cultures. At the Living Center, we have music as a part of all of our celebrations and all of our memorials. Music moves through our community like an old friend to ground us and bring us together and help residents who are new to our community feel safe and comfortable in something that they know. Music has really become embedded in our culture at the Living Center. I'd like to talk with you a bit about the group music therapy that I offer throughout the week at the Living Center. So I develop a group based on where our current community is and where the need lies. So when I first came to the Living Center, I knew that there were a number of people who experienced memory loss. So I developed a group called Music for Memory. And this was targeted specifically for those individuals. And I want to preface my terminology that I'll be using here as an explanation that I use the term brain change in place of dementia, because dementia has such a vast continuum and it's such a wide spectrum, and the word dementia can often have negative connotations derived. So we use at the Living Center the term brain change instead of dementia. Musical engagement is really useful for people with brain change because the key brain areas linked to musical memory are relatively undamaged by the disease. And music heightens arousal for people with memory loss because it is so emotional. And this allows for better attention and improved memory. And it's common for music to evoke lost memories because it's acting as a portal to those lost memories. So when I'm working with people with brain change, I typically want to accomplish the following goal areas: decrease anxiety, stimulate cognition, increase orientation, and enhance verbal and nonverbal communication. So what does that look like in a music therapy session? I'm going to give you some of the tools that I use as examples of how I would accomplish that first goal. So to decrease anxiety, we would start by singing their favorite songs. And it's really important here that I focus on the preferred songs of the residents I work with. And part of my job is to figure out what those favorite songs are. So studies have shown that songs from the ages of 18 to 25 are the most memorable for people with memory loss. So I'll focus on songs they respond to from that time in their lives. And then the act of singing those preferred songs helps them feel distracted from anxious thoughts by being engaged in the here and now. People with brain change can often have worried, ruminating thoughts that bring them away from the present moment, and music helps bring them back to the present moment. And they're recalling fond memories, which can help them feel relaxed and feel safe and comfortable. So, for example, let's say they enjoy the song "Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree." will use this song as like a fill in the blank exercise because I want to have them engaged with me in singing. I don't want to just be singing to them. I want them to be singing with me because that evokes more memories and more engagement. So I'm going to ask Beth to help me with this song as our demonstration for what this exercise would look like. You ready, Beth?
Ready.
Don't sit under the apple tree with
Anyone else but Maeve,
anyone else but
Jane,
anyone else.
but me.
No, 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 don't sit under the
Palm tree,
with anyone else but
Beth,
till I come marching.
oh.
Well done, thank you. So then I'll extend that by asking them questions about the content in that songs and memories that they might have. So, for example, did you ever have an apple tree growing up? Or what's your favorite kind of apple? Do you think an apple tree would be blooming this time of year? Or could you give me advice on how to harvest an apple? Because I frankly have no idea. And so I will just kind of build on that and ask questions to engage them, and this is stimulating their cognition and evoking more and more memories, and more stories will come out of those conversations. I've worked with so many people who experience advanced brain change, and it's amazing to see how they will light up when music is introduced into the room. And that is happening because music is engaging those parts of the brain that were spared by their disease. So I'm going to move on to more of our groups at the Living Center, more of our music therapy groups. We also have a ukulele music therapy group, and I developed this really based on a group of individuals we had at the Living Center who were highly cognitive and needed that challenge. And learning a new instrument is a great challenge. And we also wanted to work on strengthening their functional grasp. So that's strengthening the tiny muscles in each of their fingers. And when we're playing the ukulele, forming chord shapes in the left hand and strumming patterns in the right is really working on those tiny muscles in each hand. And that strengthening translates into other areas of their lives to help them with things like eating or writing or brushing their teeth. We also have a therapeutic songwriting or a therapeutic drumming group, and this is an open group for any residents who would like to join, but I really like to target this group for individuals who have experienced trauma, because the act of drumming is a very mindful practice that helps regulate their nervous system with alternating that left and right brain stimulation, which is shown to be helpful in emotional processing. And the act of drumming can be really soothing for people who have experienced trauma. We also have a multi-generational music therapy group where we have a group of children come and make music with our residents. And I developed this group really, we have other groups like this, but we hadn't had a music one yet. So we developed this to really combat ageism and those negative associations that can be formed with long-term care communities, and combat that at an early age, early in child development, where a 5-year-old can come in and be with a 95-year-old and engage in music in a really non-threatening and fun way. I'm going to zoom through these other groups. We also have a Living Center choir, a therapeutic songwriting group that I touched on earlier, and we even have a rock band, which is kind of our claim to fame. And all of these groups ebb and flow. So when the needs of our residents fluctuate, so do the groups that we offer. I'm going to move on now to speak a little bit about how I work with individuals outside of the group setting. So I will first receive a referral from a staff member, a family member. I could receive a referral from the resident themselves. And then I assess what the individual's physiological, psychosocial, and cognitive needs are. And I then see if music therapy techniques can help. And if they can, then I'll go on to research their musical history and learn their favorite songs. And once sessions begin, I'll really start to formulate a treatment plan based on all of that information. And I'll develop goals for us. And then as sessions continue, I continually document our progress together. So tonight, I would like to share a story with you about an individual who I currently work with. And when asking his family if I could share this evening, they were very supportive, as they've always been supportive of this individual's name is Christopher, of Christopher's music therapy treatment. And pre-COVID, the family would come in and sit in on our group music therapy sessions and enjoy music with their dad. And that's another benefit of music therapy, is that families can be really involved and get to know their parents in a different way, or their loved one in a different way in music, where it kind of bridges that gap of not knowing what to say, but being able to engage in a different way. So this is a short testimonial from Christopher's son, talking about the music therapy program.
Hi, my name is Bruce Walker. My father, Christopher Walker, has been at the Living Center for about 1.5 years now. He did not go in of his own volition. He had a stroke, and I think that kind of had him out of sorts there for a while. And one thing that really helped him was to have the music therapy sessions with Hilary. He's always enjoyed music, classical music, opera, and sitting in with him, it was remarkable to see him light up when he could sing with Hilary and with the group. What surprised me was the questions that Hilary would ask of people if the song made them feel happy or sad or brought back memories. And how engaged he became. I thought he would be unwilling to answer, but he surprised me by recounting some memories that I'd never heard of before. And since COVID, I haven't been able to join, which is unfortunate, but she was kind enough to share some recordings of the two of them playing together, singing together, and I know that it's a highlight for him there, and I look forward to being able to join again. And just wanted to commend the Living Center staff and Hilary for their attention to the residents and their needs. It's impressive, especially during these challenging times. So keep up the good work. Thanks.
So as Bruce said so well, Christopher came from a place, from a drastically different reality into the Living Center where he was with us. He went through a traumatic experience and felt displaced in a new environment. As Bruce said, Christopher came to us after having a stroke and was diagnosed with vascular dementia. And Christopher was feeling restless and agitated and getting into confrontations with other residents. And rather than treating Christopher's unmet needs with medication, we really look at how we can help him holistically, how we can not treat Christopher's behaviors, but look at what are the cause of those behaviors and see how we can treat him from there. And we start by using music therapy, because music therapy is a non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical approach that has more positive outcomes than medications can provide and fewer side effects, if any. It was apparent that Christopher was feeling frustrated. When he was trying to communicate, he would say this short, elegant phrase, and then all of a sudden, his train of thought vanishes. And those things, those feelings and thoughts that he was trying to communicate just aren't there. Now, this is an incredibly intelligent man, a Rhodes Scholar, a professor of physics. I can't even begin to imagine how frustrating that must have been for him. So it's no wonder that he was agitated and getting into confrontations with other residents. So with Christopher, I really worked to create a musical environment where he felt in control, where he could express himself non-verbally and feel heard, and increase his confidence by developing a new skill. We can often get ahead of ourselves and wish to cure the individual or go back to who they were before a brain change occurred. However, the emphasis here is to look at where the individual is currently. What can he accomplish now? Radical acceptance, which is the acceptance of life as it is now, can be really challenging for all of us. It's really challenging for our residents and for their families. However, radical acceptance is an integral part of our healing. So when sessions began with Christopher, I would come in and sing his favorite songs in hopes that he would engage with me, and he would often become restless. And I would place an instrument in front of him just to see how he would engage, and he would become frustrated right away, and he would leave 15 minutes into our sessions. And these kinds of interactions continued for a few weeks. And then Christopher started to anticipate my presence and anticipate our music making, and he started to be more willing to make mistakes. And we would sing together, and he would join me, and he would sing along to a song where he didn't know the words, but he would make them up. And he felt comfortable in doing so because that therapeutic relationship really started to grow, and he began to trust me. So one day, I brought in the glockenspiel because I knew that Christopher had experience in his life playing melodic instruments. So I placed the glockenspiel on the table in front of him, and Christopher just stared at that glockenspiel. And so I picked up a mallet to demonstrate how it was used, playing a few random notes. And again, Christopher stared at that glockenspiel. And so then I played the first 4 notes of a song that is logged in all of our long-term memory. Da, 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 da. And I waited. And right as I was about to curse myself for pushing him too far too fast, Christopher picked up his mallet, and not only did he finish that song, but he added passing tones as heard in Mozart's variations. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da. I picked my jaw up off the floor and added 3 notes to end the song. Da da da. And we both looked at each other and laughed. We laughed, this big belly laugh with our eyes locked and our faces just beaming. And I had chills from the depth of that interaction. We just shared what felt like an inside joke. Two people with drastically different realities and a glockenspiel. It's moments like these that I have a hard time defining. I have a hard time quantifying, which may seem small to the passing eye. However, that moment was evolutionary in our process because not only had we discovered a skill that Christopher currently encompasses, but we were connected. We were connected beyond music, beyond language, and beyond the constraints of brain change. These interactions bypass the areas of his brain that were damaged from his stroke and stimulate those other very functional areas, helping him to connect nonverbally and develop this renewed sense of himself as he is in his life now. Christopher and I will now sing together in harmonies. We play the piano, we still play the glockenspiel, and Christopher will be engrossed in our sessions for an entire hour and still not wanting it to end. So I'd like to share with you a short clip of Christopher and I in a session recently. Because of our fantastic team at the Living Center and Music Therapy, Christopher is no longer agitated or getting into confrontations with other residents. In fact, some staff members might say that he's the best part of their day. I think I would agree. I have so many of these stories that I could share with you all night. But I hope this talk has given you some insight into the science and the practice of music therapy and how it can connect people against all odds. I'm so grateful for our medical community here in Jackson who understands that music therapy is not just this novel concept or a cherry on the top of a mountain of clinical interventions, but it is part of the foundation of what we do, who we are, and what we provide at the Living Center. And that music therapy should be a standard of care in long-term care communities and with people with brain change. Music is innately part of all of us. If you think of a baby moving and bobbing their head to music before they can even speak or walk, or a group of people who are strangers from different cultures and backgrounds dancing together to music as if they were one, or a person with advanced brain change singing through an entire song while unable to have a conversation. Music is innately part of all of us. You know, I'll see residents sitting together at the dining room table and having a challenging time communicating with one another. And this is because of so many barriers, visual loss, hearing loss, other cognitive challenges, and I can't help but feel so frustrated for them. But I do find solace knowing that they are able to connect in a different way. In a room making music together, feeling vibrations, moving in sync, and working toward a common purpose where conversation and formalized interactions are absent. and that innate power to create music is ever present. We want to work to a place where mastery and perfection is a thing of the past, and connection is our foundation to the present. And the beauty in those seemingly small moments, that's forever our purpose here on earth. And music is one of the best facilitators for those moments. I'd like to end tonight with a few lines from that song that I shared with you earlier, written by our residents. These are their words. Many changes in life now, still learning every day to grow, accepting life as it occurs. Enjoy what we have, the people we love, and share with each other. We've had a long, hard row to hoe, but the longer the row, the more brilliant the rainbow. And with that, I am beyond thankful and excited. Thankful to our community who has pulled together for our elders to provide them a home in Sage Living, where our music therapy journey will continue to grow in our very own dedicated music and arts center, where music therapy sessions will no longer take place in awkward ends of hallways or private bedrooms, but in a room filled with instruments and so many more opportunities for growth. So thank you very much. I'm going to welcome Beth back with us, and she's going to facilitate some questions.
Yeah, thank you, Hilary. You know, as a nurse, I really get the front row seat as a witness to many of Hilary's, not only one-on-one sessions, but many of the group therapies. And it is magic. And it really, as a nurse, I mean, we're hearing a lot about this in the news, the challenges during COVID. And as a nurse, my self-care is being a part of Hilary's sessions. It connects me with my purpose as a nurse and reminds me that this is why we're doing this. This is why we're in this. It's because of these residents. So thank you, Hilary, for your gift, for the gift that you have given to our community. You know, we've been on our culture change journey at the Living Center for over 10 years, but when you came along 5 years ago, you blew it out of the water. We're just so grateful for you on so many levels. There were so many questions that came in, but really two themes that emerged, Hilary, were, the first was, you know, many people watching this live and that will watch the recording later are living at home, caring for their loved one who may or may not have brain change, and just wondering how some of these aspects of music therapy that you've talked about tonight could be translated in the home. And then secondly, another theme that emerged was, what does music therapy look like at end of life?
Okay, great questions. So ways that you can engage with your loved one at home with music, there's so many. Start with putting together a playlist of their favorite songs. Maybe this has changed, so really check in with them and see what they respond to. But like I said earlier in my talk tonight, focusing on songs that were popular in their lives between the ages of 18 and 25 is a really great place to start and see what songs they respond to. And when I think of songs that I play for our residents, I really don't play songs after 1960, because during the 60s, that's when their kids were listening to music and getting into music. So before 1960s and earlier, and really focus on that kind of music, those generations, and not just put the playlist on for them, but engage with them in music. So ask questions, think about what the song's about, and then say, well, has this ever happened to you? Or what were you doing during that time in your life? Or did this bring up any memories or feelings? And that can really expand into some really beautiful conversations with your loved one. and play music together. You know, I think we really need to get away from this concept that everything has to be perfect when we play music. And it's about the engagement. And it doesn't need to be perfect. And a lot of times I kind of have to break down those barriers when I'm working with people of older generations that they kind of, and we all do it. Like, I can't play an instrument. What are you talking about? I'm not good at this. I'm not perfect at this. And just kind of break down those barriers and have fun with it. I improvise with our residents all the time because that's really accessible to people. You can't make a mistake. You're just making up as you go, and if it's awful, then you can share a laugh about it together. So there's no right or wrong in music, as much as we've been kind of trained to think there is. It's all about that engagement and a different way to be together. And start by using, I mean, maybe your loved one knows how to play an instrument, and see where they're at there. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. So back down a little bit to play the glockenspiel. That's why I play the glockenspiel with Christopher. It's more accessible. A lot of rhythmic instruments are more accessible than sitting down at a piano, which can be kind of overwhelming. So those are some ideas to use with your loved one at home. And as far as music therapy in end-of-life care, that is a big facet of what I do. And so I will automatically receive a referral for someone who is end of life because we know how precious that time is and how important it is. And so if someone is on their own actively passing, then I will go in to kind of take in that space and help them feel comforted and not alone. And hearing is one of the last things to go. And so this is a way for them to feel supported and facilitate that passage into the next journey. And when family members are with us when their loved one is passing, this can be a really special time to have a group music therapy session, a family music therapy session, where I provide music. I try not to talk. And often when families get together and are with their loved one when they're passing on, it can be really an intense and overwhelming time. And music kind of helps to dampen that and to evoke emotions that might feel stuck because it is so overwhelming. It's hard to be really present with your loved one. And so music helps as a way to bridge those gaps and bring people together in a way that transcends stereotypical forms of communication. You're together in a really peaceful and connective way through music. So that's just a short explanation of what music therapy looks like in end-of-life care.
Thanks, Hilary. Just wanted to spend a couple minutes just talking about Sage Living, our new community, and some of the events you can look forward to as we get closer to Sage Living. We are so, as Hilary said, we're so grateful that we will have dedicated intentional space for music and arts, lovingly called the MAC, the Music and Arts Center. And you can look forward to Sage Living only expanding upon Hilary's current offerings. Private rooms where the intimacy of those one-on-one sessions can happen. In addition, just that view of the Elk Refuge and the Tetons, and then the view south towards Snow King as well is equally as beautiful, just endless inspiration for our residents. And we're so grateful to this community. Among the services, really we're very excited about memory care. Memory care is that new service offering that specialized memory care neighborhood designed specifically for people with brain change. And so this is a secured neighborhood so that people can safely wander, can safely, have brain change and really have the staff to not only for the cognitive cueing, the specific programs like Music for Memory Hilary was talking about, but just really a place for lifelong learning and growth, as well as long-term care and skilled nursing upstairs. And then, of course, all of the offerings that we need as we age to support our residents and their families. So family groups, space for events and celebrations, dining services, transportation, life enrichment. I mean, just so many of the things we offer now that you may or may not know about, but truly Sage Living will be the Institute on Aging in Jackson Hole. We're very confident that, you know, we have the culture, now let's build the building to match our culture. And so we're just so grateful to our entire team, Hilary, and again, Center for the Arts, thank you so much for helping us share our story. And again, looking at all of you out there, if you're watching this live or will be joining the recording later, would love to connect with you. In a follow-up email, we'll be sending our contact information. I'm sure you have more questions for Hilary. You can also visit us at our website, sageliving.health, to be added to our interest list. We're also currently signing up prospective residents and their families to be part of our Founders Club, which is the first 20 residents that will move into Sage Living. So we're just very, very excited as we inch closer towards our new home. And a couple events coming up that you can look forward to as part of our Embracing Aging series. We have Connecting with the Community, featuring our Director of Life Enrichment, Connie Hansen. That's February 24th at 6 p.m. And as well, the Heart of Art. So this really is fun. This is Art Therapy on March 23rd. And that is featuring Jen McNaughton as part of our team. So thank you so much to everyone. Again, we are on this journey with you. We want to partner with you, and we're just so, so grateful that you've joined us in this virtual space. This is such a delight to be with all of you tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take care.
you.